Hikuriyama is a small, remote town in Japan, located at the foot of a mountain range, surrounded by dense forests and misty valleys. The town is known for its old temples and traditional festivals, but it's also rumored to be haunted by strange, otherworldly beings that lurk in the shadows. The locals warn outsiders to stay away from the abandoned buildings that dot the outskirts of the town. One night guard named Taro who worked at Hikuriyama Kindergarten. He had been working there for many years, and nothing scary had ever happened to him. That all changed one night when he encountered a creepy child with a long neck. It was around 2 a.m., and Taro was making his rounds around the empty kindergarten. He was checking the doors and windows, making sure everything was secure. As he walked down one of the hallways, he heard a faint whisper. He turned around and saw a small child standing at the end of the hallway. As Taro approached the child, its head slowly started to tilt to one side, as if its neck was made of rubber. Suddenly, with a loud cracking sound, the child's neck stretched upwards, extending to an impossible length. Taro stumbled backward, tripping over his own feet and falling onto the hard, cold floor. The child's head continued to stretch upwards, elongating like a snake's body, until it reached the ceiling. Its eyes were fixed on Taro, who was now frozen with fear. Suddenly, the child's head snapped back to its original position, and it let out a deafening screech that echoed through the halls. Taro managed to crawl away, but he could hear the child's unnerving laughter behind him. He tried to find a place to hide, but the child seemed to be everywhere. Its neck would suddenly appear in the most unexpected places, like around corners or through windows, always staring at Taro with its empty, lifeless eyes. As the night wore on, Taro's fear turned into panic. He tried to leave the kindergarten, but the gates were locked. The child with the long neck continued to haunt him, its eerie laughter filling the halls. Taro eventually stumbled into the kindergarten's playground, hoping to find a way out. The child was waiting for him there, perched on top of the jungle gym, its long neck coiled like a snake. It jumped down and started to crawl towards Taro, its neck stretching and twisting with every movement. Taro backed away, his heart racing with fear. He stumbled and fell, and the child was upon him in an instant. Its long neck wrapped around him like a snake, squeezing the air out of his lungs. Taro gasped for breath, his vision starting to fade. Just as he thought he was going to die, the child's neck suddenly snapped back to its original length, and it disappeared into the darkness. Taro was left alone, gasping for breath on the cold ground, with the memory of the child's haunting laughter still ringing in his ears. Taro barely managed to escape with his life that night. However, the haunting memories of the child with the long neck continued to plague him. He started to experience nightmares and hallucinations, seeing the child everywhere he went. As days turned into weeks, Taro's sanity started to slip away. He would often wake up in the middle of the night, screaming and thrashing around, as if he was being attacked by the child. His family members tried to comfort him, but they too were slowly being driven mad by the child's presence. The child seemed to have a hold on them, its haunting laughter ringing in their ears day and night. They tried to seek help from the local priests and spiritual healers, but nothing seemed to work. The child's grip on them was too strong. One day, Taro snapped completely. He barricaded himself in his room, refusing to come out. His family members tried to break down the door, but it was locked from the inside. They could hear Taro's screams and cries from behind the door, along with the child's eerie laughter. Eventually, the door broke down, and Taro's family members rushed in. They found Taro lying on the floor, curled up in a fetal position. He was babbling incoherently, his eyes wild and unfocused. The child was nowhere to be seen. From that day on, Taro was institutionalized in a mental hospital. His family members tried to move on with their lives, but they too were scarred for life by the child's presence. The memory of the child haunted them even in their dreams. Eventually, Taro was released from the hospital, but he was not the same person he had been before. He had lost touch with reality, and his mind was consumed by the memory of the child with the long neck. Taro wandered the streets, aimlessly searching for something he could not name. One day, Taro stumbled upon an abandoned building. It was old and decrepit, but there was something about it that drew him in. As he entered the building, he heard a soft laughter, and he felt a sense of familiarity wash over him. He followed the sound of the laughter, and it led him to a small room at the end of the hallway. There, he saw the child with the long neck, sitting in the corner and giggling softly to itself. Taro was not afraid of the child. In fact, he felt a strange sense of comfort in its presence. The child looked up at him with its large, glowing eyes, and Taro knew that he had found what he had been searching for. From that day on, Taro lived with the child in the abandoned building. The child with the long neck became Taro's only companion, and he was content with his new life. He had forgotten about his family and the life he had once known, but it did not matter. Taro had found a new family and a new home. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying stories. Your support helps me create more content like this.